I'm not just writing history, I am making it.
I have the brain of a historian and the clapback of a comedian.
You better come with sources, because I always check footnotes.
Hello, welcome to Historians on Housewives. Thanks for joining us for another episode. You're here with me, Casey.
Dr. J. Mill, the millionaireess.
Max Spear. Jessica, lend me $1, please.
So today we're going to talk to Catherine Koonar, who is about to finish her PhD with a project all about the history of Hershey chocolate in the United States, consumption, food, capitalism. It's fabulous. And so I thought to set us up, we could talk about our favorite chocolate. Now, for me, I did not like chocolate growing up. I really wasn't a big chocolate person until I was pregnant, and now I can't stop eating it. I need it all the time. It's been my big craving. Before, my favorite chocolate would have just been like the chocolate in the river from like the Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka. That was like always magical to me. But I didn't actually like want to eat the chocolate. I just wanted to look at it.
Augustus Gloop is a hero of yours.
No, I mean, it's like that combination of like whimsical and like creepy. And I don't know. I loved the chocolate river.
Who doesn't want to be creeped out while they eat chocolate?
Well, so I never really was a chocolate person. I just liked that part of chocolate. But now, like, I'm really into chocolate milk right now. I don't know if that will change when the baby comes, but like I have to have a chocolate milk every day.
What about you, Jessica?
So, Hershey's is not necessarily my favorite chocolate. We've talked about kind of the aftertaste. I have to say that my favorite chocolate, and no one has heard of it unless you live in Maryland, it's Walk Fuss Chocolates. There is a store in Bel Air, Maryland. There's a store in the Columbia Mall, and there's a store in Ocean City. This is the smoothest chocolate you will ever taste.
Ooh.
And they're particularly known for their almond bark, like just chocolate over almonds.
Ooh,
and
that
it's
sounds
just
good.
It's just smooth. It's not too sweet. They have it in dark chocolate and milk chocolate. You can order it online. Trust me, you'll be very pleased with this.
That does sound good. I don't have a specific brand of chocolate that I like, but I do like the way that Godiva or See's Candy makes chocolate into like a little ball, and then you have like a filling inside.
A little
truffle.
Yeah. Is there a third intro, folks? Give us a break.
That can be at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you like truffles?
Yeah, I like truffles. A little bit of fruit jelly inside. Absolutely delicious. Dark chocolate too. I used to like Reese's, but it became a little too I don't know, the peanut butter started getting to me. Not like you though. You really don't like chocolate and peanut butter.
I feel like it's because I really don't like chocolate and peanut butter, so maybe your Reese's consumption went down. But I love chocolate with marshmallow.
This is crazy talk that you don't like chocolate with peanut butter. First of all, chocolate, if you're a chocolate person, will go with anything.
Yep.
But see, that's the thing. I'm not traditionally a chocolate person.
You are now. You're having chocolate milk every single day.
But I don't know if it will stay when I'm not pregnant anymore.
Would you try chocolate with peanut butter now?
No.
While you're pregnant? Why not?
It sounds awful.
Do you like peanut butter?
With apples.
Okay, I like peanut butter with apples, but it's so much better with chocolate.
Or like a peanut butter and jelly, but the jelly has to be specific. I'm like a boysenberry, blackberry.
Academics are so particular about their food. They're not normal. Normal people are particular about food, but academics in particular, we have such little happiness in our lives that little boysenberry jelly.
All right, so let me give you the background on Catherine Koonar. Catherine Koonar is a PhD candidate in history at the University of Toronto. I was going to say the University of Toronto is gorgeous, and I really love their library.
Did you go there for the Berks? Is that?
Yeah. The Berks.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. The University of Toronto hosted an amazing Berks years ago. And I still think about the beauty of this campus. So her dissertation traces the history of the Hershey Chocolate Company. She is broadly focused on American capitalism, mass consumption, and food history. Her project investigates the history of U.S. capitalism through the lens of the Hershey Company. She uses social and cultural history methodologies to show how ideas about the nature of chocolate as a joyful rather than a necessary commodity shaped the company's identity. So with that, let's welcome Catherine Koonar to the podcast. Welcome, Catherine Koonar. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Would you like to share your Real Housewives tagline with us?
Sure. I may study chocolate, but get on my bad side, and I am not so sweet.
That's a good one.
I like it.
That's a good one.
That's a very professional housewife.
That's
tagline.
a really great tagline.
Well, yes, I tried to mimic the cadence of the Housewives.
You did very well.
So typically we would ask about your reality TV Bravo history first, but I just felt like we couldn't do that today, and we have to switch things up because we have to actually know how you ended up researching chocolate and the Hershey Company and how your research may have impacted your chocolate consumption.
Well, I did my master's degree in history and African studies, and my thesis looked at child labor in colonial Ghana, and that research didn't look explicitly at the cocoa sector, but when I was doing a lot of reading, I came across some academic, but mostly journalistic material about more contemporary child labor in West African cocoa production. So that sort of led to reading about the Hershey Company, and I found its history to be just really interesting. And this was while I happened to be applying to doctoral programs. So I just came to the topic of Hershey that way. And that's also how I became an Americanist. In terms of my chocolate consumption, I don't know if it's changed it. I've always loved chocolate. And since I started working on Hershey, though, I'm always asked when I'm at conferences or meeting new people, what's your favorite chocolate? And usually there seems to be the implication that it couldn't possibly be Hershey's. A lot of people don't consider it to be quote unquote good chocolate. And because I'm Canadian, I didn't really grow up eating Hershey's because it's kind of a, I don't know, second or third tier brand here. But I do love Reese's. That's my favorite Hershey's product.
What is considered top tier chocolate in Canada?
I mean, I guess like top tier, like national, like brands that you can get everywhere would I guess be like Cadbury. That's just more the style of chocolate that I think seems to be popular in Canada, the more creamy style. There's different regulations like in the US and in Canada and in Europe and the UK about how much cocoa solids have to be in chocolate, and so there's a lot less in American chocolate, so that's why it's sometimes more like sugar forward, I guess, than milk forward.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sort of.
So is that why, I mean, that would make sense. So since you said Ghana, I'm looking for any reason to talk about Ghana. I just came back from Ghana, and there is a chocolate story. There's a chocolate story because someone offered me a Kit Kat, and I wrinkled my nose. And they said, but it's American chocolate. I said, tastes different over here, which it does, right? Because these international regulations, that just makes total and complete sense. So
yeah, and it's also Hershey's actually has the license to make and distribute Kit Kat only in the United States. Everywhere else, it's Nestle.
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't even know what to do with that. Like, I'm thinking about the bags that you put together at Halloween. I'm thinking about ads. Wow. That would make sense too, I guess.
Is Nestle American based?
Well,
their
it's
chocolate?
Swiss. It's Swiss. It's a Swiss company. I'm pretty sure. It's Swiss. But back a few decades ago, they sold the rights to distribute and make just the Kit Kat brand to the Hershey company. And 2002, they joined with Cadbury to try to buy the Hershey company to sort of get back the rights to Kit Kat, because Kit Kat's a really popular chocolate bar in the United States. And yeah.
This is fascinating.
This is all about colonialism and antitrust, and this is like a 19th century historian's dream. This is a great topic.
Yeah, and I can already see so many overlaps with some of our Bravo people and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great.
So on that note, can you tell us a little bit about your personal history with reality TV and how you became a Bravo-demic?
Sure. I've never watched a lot of reality TV other than The Housewives. But when I was in undergrad, I had a friend who watched The Real Housewives of New York. And so I started watching with her, and it kind of turned into like a fun night with a few friends every week. And then later I started watching a few other franchises. And then before, like, you could DVR things or watch them online, I would just see things here and there when I was around. But the things I've watched most consistently are New York, Orange County, and Vanderpump, I think. But about a year ago, I started subscribing to Hey You, and so now I've been trying to catch up on older seasons, which is a lot of fun. But I don't think I really started. You? Oh, it's a reality TV streaming service. It's very affordable, like half the price of Netflix. And because I don't have cable, and
is this Canadian based?
I think it's actually Australian based. I think.
I wish you could see our faces.
Remember right?
Do you get live TV?
No, you don't get live TV. You get it the next day. So the day after it aired, it's there. And they have all the old, and there's so much more than Housewives on it. I haven't really gone, like, I've only had it for about a year, and I haven't gone too deep, but there's a lot of stuff on it. I like looked through all of the titles, and it's pretty deep.
And it's called Hey You?
Yeah, HAYU, I think.
We should say that Historians on Housewives is not an affiliate of Hey You, Kit Kat, or Hershey's Chocolate, or Nestle, nor have they paid us to do any advertising.
But if they want to.
No.
I feel like we're going to have almost like a count of how many times like you've like made our heads explode already, and like throughout the whole episode, because we're already like at least on number 2, if not 3, where we were like, what is going on? Oh my goodness. Our whole world just shifted a little bit. What is this Hey You? I need this in my life.
It's great. It really is great. Because I used to be able to watch some on Slice, which is a Canadian network, and they would have it for free online. But they stopped. I guess they don't have the rights to do that anymore. That ended a while, like maybe 2 years ago. And then I found this service. I can't even remember how I came across it. But it's been wonderful. It has some glitches. It's not a perfect streaming service, but it's pretty good, and it's definitely affordable.
So turning back to Bravo,
yeah.
Who would you pick as your top 3 Bravo celebrities, and why?
Oh, this was really hard, but because there's a lot of things I like about a lot of Bravo celebrities, but Sonia Morgan is my favorite. She is really fun to watch. There was like a period where things were a little dark for her, but I find her really funny and silly, and I like that she can laugh at herself a lot of the time, which seems a little rare in Housewives. And she just lives in her own little world, and I really like it. She also reminds me a bit of my mom, which seems weird, but it's the scenes where she's running around the townhouse and fixing things and asking interns questions, and then on to the next thing before they even have a chance to answer her. And it's those like kind of frantic, scatterbrain side of Sonia that's very familiar to me. Sorry, Mom.
So Sonia Morgan would be number 1. What about number 2?
Mm-hmm. Number 2 is Stephanie Holman from Dallas. I just really like her. There's something about her that seems like I could spend time with her, but if I had to spend a significant amount of time with a lot of the other housewives, I don't know. I might lose my mind. And I like her friendship with Brandy. I think I don't. There's a lot of housewives friendships that seem a little forced or contrived, but theirs seems pretty genuine, and I like it.
The interesting thing about Stephanie that I was actually really impressed with in this last season was when they went to Thailand, and she just admitted, she goes, I didn't plan anything in this trip. I don't know what I'm doing here. But my husband, Travis, planned everything we're doing, ladies. Right. And like, just the fact that she did not try to claim that she planned it. Right. But then that Travis actually had planned a fairly interesting trip for them.
It was a fairly interesting trip, but that also might have been as like to preempt in case it was a terrible trip. She didn't want to get yelled at.
That's true. That's true. But I just found that so interesting that she was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Travis planned it, you know, but they've had like such a back and forth about when she wants to have more say and more control versus when she's like, I don't care, Travis, you take care of it, you know? And so I feel like we've really seen their relationship evolve a bit in front of the cameras over 4 years.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. The first season of Dallas, that was a relationship that seemed a little troubling, but I like where it's gone. I like them together. They seem it's a cute relationship.
They seem a lot more like partners now.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Rather than, you know, this husband that shows up after work and gives her lists and then leaves again. Yeah. So there's been a lot of I think transition in their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so number 3.
Number 3 is Kate Chastain from Below Deck. I love her commentary about what's happening on every charter. I love her take on the rest of the crew. I like her sarcasm. I really like Below Deck, and I hate that Kate's had a really rough time this season.
Yeah.
It's been a little hard to watch. It's been hard to watch. Yeah.
I just feel like Bravo's going to need some HR cleanup.
Yeah.
So, in like a kind of like broad strokes, what can you say about the history of U.S. capitalism, consumption, and food based on your research about chocolate and the Hershey Company?
Based on my research, it's until the 1880s, there's not really a lot of brands, like especially food brands. And, when people buy food, it doesn't really have a label on it. They just go to a store or market and buy what they need. But the rise of packaged goods in the late 19th and early 20th century changes this, and it brings about the advent of like branded food products. And then and that leads to the rise of competition among brands and necessitates the need for advertising in food. And the industrialization of food production meant that more food, and particularly shelf-stable foods, things like Heinz and Campbell's and Quaker Oats, are being marketed and sold nationwide. And this changes the way Americans eat, the way they shop, and the way they think about food, because more and more foods that people eat every day are coming in packages and they're being mass produced. And this rise of industrial food production also means that consumers have questions and concerns about how that food's being made, which prompts large companies to produce carefully curated images of themselves, like of their founders as being charitable and benevolent, of workers being clean and well cared for, and production methods being also clean and sterile and technologically advanced. And many factories, including Hershey, start to open their doors to visitors as a way of showing the public that these products can be trusted. And Hershey is the first company to mass produce solid milk chocolate for sale nationwide. There's artisanal chocolate being produced, and there's some that's being imported from Europe, but That's obviously more expensive. And what makes Hershey a little different and like sort of complicated in this story, where we're seeing the advertisement of mass-produced foods, is that Hershey doesn't advertise its food in the same way. It really uses the town itself as a way to actively promote the chocolate, sort of almost secondarily at times. So it becomes a regional tourist destination. But the price of chocolate is always kept really low. So it's always accessible to all classes of Americans, which allows it to spread across the country. And my work looks at how the Hershey Company changed as the role of workers and patterns of consumption changed over the course of the 20th century. For example, the transformation of the town's tourist infrastructure in the 1970s reflects changes in leisure and tourism and the kinds of consumption related to travel and vacationing in the post-war years. So that's how I see it sort of related to all those things.
So I'm going to have a 19th century instructor nerd moment.
Perfect.
Casey was my TA, so she knows that I always wrestle with finding interesting things to teach when I teach the 19th century. When she teaches it, it's no problem, but I'm always trying to find interesting things because, I'm really actually an early Americanist. But this notion of like Hershey, and was Hershey also like a company town, and that they had boarding houses and the same things that you would see in other factory towns? Or am I getting too deep? That's just a nerdy question.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to talk to you guys about, in terms of like how Milton Hershey himself is turned into a larger than life brand. Like I see as being inextricably linked to this, the fact that Hershey, Pennsylvania was a company town, and that has a lot to do with how it spreads and its success. So he founded the company in the 1890s as an offshoot of a successful caramel company that he had. And then he sold that to focus exclusively on chocolate, because he saw chocolate as a new market that didn't really have anyone in it who was making something affordable that was mass produced. So in 1903, he built the industrial chocolate factory, and then he establishes the town around the factory, and the town is meant for workers to live. And Hershey's part of what historians would refer to as the new company town movement, and all that means is that there's more corporate support for home ownership. So we don't see these sort of like barracks that you would have seen in like mid 19th century, late 19th century towns, mining towns and things like that, or something like Pullman. There's more focus on family, attracting families, amenities, green space. But Milton Hershey and the Hershey Company still control the town, but it was aesthetically pleasing. That's sort of the way that they designed it. So there's still a great deal of paternalism and control. And so control over the image of the town is something that's really important. And another important aspect of this is the orphan school that he started. Milton Hershey's wife died young and they had no children. So he signed his wealth and his stake in the company over to this orphan school. And when that becomes public in, I think 1919 or 20, somewhere around there, that becomes a really big part of his identity and the identity of the town. So he becomes this like really charitable person. And there's this idea that if you're buying Hershey, you're contributing to this beautiful town and this orphan school where children are taken out of poverty to be trained in various trades and go on and live lives that never would have been possible without the quote unquote generous support of this, chocolate patriarch.
It's great philanthropy, right? It's great philanthropy.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm going to have you lecture in my class because this is fascinating.
So we have this really good discussion now about Milton Hershey as a larger than life sort of brand, turning himself into like a larger than life brand. And can you tell us more about that and how it relates to the image created by people like Andy Cohen and housewives like Ramona, Bethenny, and Vicki, who constantly get into fights about their brands and their sense of being sort of self-made, regardless of how true that notion is in their cases?
I've sort of thought a little bit about like the Bravo universe as kind of a metaphoric company town, and Andy Cohen as its founder and benefactor. And that comparison is kind of interesting to me. I haven't totally fleshed that out, but Hershey was often described as a family, especially by those that lived there, between the 1920s and 1960s. And Bravo's always described that way too. And it can be very insular in the same way that a company town can be really insular. So I don't know. I see Andy Cohen is kind of like that paternalist benefactor to me. But
I really love this metaphor. I just want you to give us all of this metaphor. My mind is just like, whoa, very cool.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, the Andy Cohen controls who's on the shows. He's the executive producer, so he doesn't control everything that happens, but he has a lot of say over storylines and what we see and what we don't see. And then through Watch What Happens Live, it's just sort of another element of promoting his brand while also controlling how Bravo gets talked about, because it's the primary outlet for people who are on Bravo to come and talk about Bravo. Of course, they all have their own Twitter accounts and Instagram and things like that. But it's just this very tight control around the product and the workers is just really reminds me of what it's actually like in a company town like Hershey. I need to think about this comparison a little more, but I think there's something there, I think.
I dig it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, there's so many ways we can go with this. I guess I want to hear a little bit more. We talked about this self-made man, right? Or this larger than life man. But one of the things you do interrogate in your research is this myth of the self-made man. So can you talk to us about the history of this concept in the United States? And you also kind of alluded to it when you talked about Andy, but we're always up to hear more about how maybe this concept can relate to Housewives or other Bravo shows.
Mm-hmm. The idea of being self-made has a really pretty long history in the United States. I think the term actually dates from about the 1830s. Initially, it's used to describe people who were born into poverty, or at least they were poor, maybe not fully impoverished, and then managed to become financially successful, or politically powerful, or some combination thereof. And with that, all on their own, they're no longer dependent on others. And this notion privileges hard work over inheritance or nepotism or other advantages that are seen as unfair. For the last several decades, this self-made term usually refers to success in business. Some housewives seem particularly focused on the idea of being self-made. Others don't seem as concerned about it. Like someone like Kyle Richards, maybe she'll talk about how successful Mauricio has become, but she doesn't fetishize it in the way that that someone like Ramona does, who seems to derive some kind of legitimacy from saying that she built whatever she has. And how true some of this is sort of up for debate. But it doesn't seem to really matter how much money any of the women have. What really matters is how they got it. And I think this is because the concept of being self-made has been constructed as virtuous, while other ways of accumulating wealth, inheritance, marriage, etc., are seen as like, less honorable, which is kind of interesting to me. And I guess, that infamous Berkshire's weekend fight between Ramona and Bethenny, where they argue about who's made more of themselves and who had financial success and how they got it. And Ramona insists that that she was wealthy before she even met Mario, and she accuses Bethenny of sleeping her way to the top rather than earning her financial success. And it's just a very confusing fight. That argument to me in that context is it just shows how much these women, who are both very wealthy women, are just putting so much emphasis on the idea that they created it for themselves, and that's what's important.
Well, and of course, this notion of like a self-made man, right, is also so contingent on various social conditions in the U.S. at the time, right? That there's so much that goes in structurally to even having the opportunity to be quote unquote self-made, that it's such a slippery concept in the first place in a lot of ways.
Sorry, go ahead, Catherine.
No, you go ahead.
Just a side note, because we like to be on top of everything on this podcast. I just literally pulled this meme up earlier today, and I think it might apply to some of these concepts of self-made people. The 7 secrets of highly successful people, according to a post on Instagram. 1, private school. 2, Ivy legacy Ivy admission. 3, nepotism hire. 4, which is really kind of what the issue is here, seed capital from family or spouse. Club memberships. 6 is a personal assistant, a nanny, a ghostwriter, basically someone to help you achieve this illusion of being self-made. And then finally, and I don't get this part, so maybe you'll get the joke, journalists who ask, what is your secret? And then uncritically publish the answer. So I guess that denotes that you have actually people asking. What does that mean?
That you're being flattered by the press and that the press doesn't actually ask you hard questions, right? That's what they're suggesting.
I knew it was sarcastic. I just didn't know on what level.
Multiple levels.
So sorry, we just had to break in for that.
That seems right.
What's on the meme? What's on the internets today?
Okay. So with that, it's time for our Bonko Party game break. Woo! Someday I will learn how to play Bonko. It's not today.
Right. None of us know how to play it for real.
Oh, I don't. I've seen the women play it, and I still have no idea what's happening.
We were at a store, like a Hallmark card store recently, or was it a 99-cent store? But they had Bonko Party, like the game.
No way.
Yeah, it was. It was very confusing.
Is this at 99-cent and everything? We have a special brand here in California.
I think it was just 99 cents.
Oh, okay. I know. I've known to frequent the halls at 99-cent and everything. And they always have Hershey on sale, by the way.
Ooh.
So today's Bonko Party game is called High Rolling. And I'm going to throw out names of Bravo celebrities, and the 3 of you will try to order them from lowest to highest reported net worth. So you'll put whatever you want to make. I guess to keep it even, 1 should be who you think is the least wealthy, and 5 should be wealthiest. Or do you want to reverse it? 1 is wealthiest.
What
does the experts say? What do you say, Catherine?
I'm asking you what makes sense for however you guys want to order it.
So go ahead.
One is the least wealthy?
Yeah.
1. Okay. Perfect.
So 1 least wealthy, 5 wealthiest. And we're going to do 3 rounds so that hopefully everybody has a chance to win.
Perfect.
Some of these numbers surprised me. Some of them I'm like, we can totally debate what's been reported afterward if you'd like, because we all know that wealthy people have lots of ways of hiding what kind of money they have. Okay. So in your first round, you have Caroline Manzo, Portia Williams, Erica Jane, Ramona Singer, and Nene Leakes. Okay, is everybody locked in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to go first, Catherine?
Sure. So I put Portia as the least wealthy,
Okay.
and then Caroline Manzo, and then Erica Jane. And I really couldn't decide between Nene and Ramona, but I put Nene and then Ramona as the most wealthy.
Okay. Jessica?
But maybe it's Erica Jane. I don't know.
Okay, I put Portia as the least wealthy. Nene Leakes, despite her being rich, bitch, I put number 2. Then I put Caroline. I don't know why. That's just what my gut told me to do.
Okay.
Erica Jane, and then Ramona Singer as the wealthiest.
Max?
We were almost identical. I went Portia number 1, Nene number 2. I went Ramona number 3. Yeah. And then Caroline Manzo. And then I said Erica Jane was the wealthiest. She has all that Aaron Brockovich money.
Sure.
So the fascinating thing is when I went to the Celebrity Net Worth, they actually separated Erica's from Tom's.
Well, that was tricky. I was going to ask such a question.
So Tom is reportedly worth $30 million. Erica is not. So here is the breakdown. If you could give yourself a check mark if you're in the right place and then report your score back. So least wealthy is Portia. They report that she's worth $200,000. Second would be Erica, who's reportedly worth $5 million on her own. In third is Caroline Manzo, reportedly worth $12 million. In fourth is Nene Leakes, reportedly worth $14 million. And then Ramona Singer, reportedly worth $18 million. So what? How many points did you get, Catherine?
I got 3 points.
Jessica?
I also have 3 points.
Max?
Oh, I got 1.
Okay. So this next round, it's gonna be a little bit more, I think less variation. This is like the tightest round. So there's like,
Okay.
okay. So you can choose from Cynthia Bailey, Stassi Schroeder.
What does that say that like Stassi is 30 something and Cynthia's had to work her, she's in her 50s now? Is that the same?
I mean,
yeah, all right.
I mean, we're about to find out what it means in terms of net worth.
Tom Sandoval,
2 30 somethings.
Wow.
Tamra Judge, and Vicki.
Well, I know how much Vicki allegedly is worth because I've checked this.
I double checked all these numbers this morning to get the most recent reportings. I will give like a tidbit to the listeners that Bethenny Frankel is not on this list because actually no one is really able to reliably say what she's worth. So her number is like no one actually knows.
Well, that's the mark of like being really rich.
Yes. So she like they don't have much on her. Some people have reported that maybe Bethenny is worth 25 million, but they know that that's kind of BS because Skinny Girl is worth more than 1 million at this point. So, or more than, 100 million. So, Bethenny isn't going to appear anywhere for those of you that were maybe waiting for that.
Okay. Appreciate you.
Are we locked in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
What'd you get, Catherine?
I put least wealthy Tamra, and then Cynthia, and then Tom Sandoval, Stassi, and Vicki as the most wealthy.
Okay. Jessica?
I did Tamra as least wealthy, Stassi. Tom at 3. I put Vicki at 4 and Cynthia at 5. And we're going to see what that, because she has so many diverse portfolios, but we'll see if I'm wrong.
I put Stassi at 1, Sandoval at 2, Tamara at 3, Cynthia at 4, and Vicki at 5.
I think that was perfect.
I did a perfect one.
Let me think. Okay. It would have been Stassi, who's reportedly worth $300,000. Then, you messed it up a little. Sorry. Cynthia is actually number 2.
Interesting.
Worth $500,000.
That's crazy.
Tom Sandoval and Tamara Judge are both worth $2 million, though. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, Tom and Ariana lived in that very crappy apartment for a long time, so I guess they saved their money.
I've heard the production paid for that. I cannot believe that they lived in an apartment.
I don't know if I believe where any of those people actually live. It's ridiculous.
First of all, you all think it's actually a house and not somewhere, a set somewhere, first of all.
Well played.
and Vicki is reportedly worth $7 million.
Yeah, I knew.
Okay.
So how did you guys score this time?
I'm rolling with 0.
Okay. Catherine?
So Tom and Tamara were tied?
Yes.
Okay. I got 3 then.
Okay.
But if they're tied, does that mean...
Well, so it would have,
Where does
the
that
order
fall?
would have been 1 to 5. It would have gone Stassi, Cynthia, Tamara, Tom in either order, and then Vicki.
Okay, yes, those 3.
Okay.
Oh, so I would have had 3 then.
Yeah. Okay. Now, final round. This one is going to have Lisa Vanderpump, Andy Cohen, Luann de Lesseps, Heather Dubrow, and Jill Zarin.
Do they separate the Dubrows' income?
No, I checked that. They're considered the same lump sum.
And Jill.
Mm-hmm.
This one's hard. I feel like all these people are very wealthy. Maybe not Luann. I don't know. Is there a lot of money in cabaret?
No.
See, there's not as much money in TV as you would think. So the Andy one is complicated for me.
It's hard, yeah.
Are you guys locked, or do you need another second? This one is a kind of a tough one.
I'm done, I think.
Okay, you ready, Jessica?
Mm-hmm.
You ready, Max?
Yep.
And you ready, Catherine?
Yes.
Okay, what did you get?
I put least wealthy Luann, and then Jill, but I think that's probably very wrong. And then Andy, Heather, and Lisa as the most wealthy.
Jessica?
I had Luann, Jill. I had Heather and Lisa tied, and then I had Andy. But I still feel like Andy needs to be... Can I put Andy... Can I rearrange?
Yeah, where do you want Andy?
Luann, Jill, Andy, and then Heather and Lisa tied.
Okay, Max?
I have the exact same list as Catherine.
Luann.
Luann, Jill,
Mm-hmm.
Andy, Heather, or the Dubrows, and then LVP.
Okay, so get ready to mark your papers. We're going to kick off with Luann at $25 million.
Oh,
She doesn't have that though. She doesn't. What's her?
How?
Because
I-
Bethenny said that she had to front her a bunch. Her and Dennis had to front her a bunch of money.
I'm
there
sure
could
she
be
did. That's why I said these
Yeah.
numbers.
assets.
Like I said, she's clearly not the wealthiest in this group, But like I said, we can debate all we want about what's actually reported.
I want the receipts, Luann.
Yes, I think there's probably some false reporting on Luann.
Allegedly.
Very alleged. Okay.
I think she's richer than that, frankly.
Next we have Jill Zarin, who's reportedly worth $35 million.
The Carpet King in New York didn't leave her all that much, I guess.
Wow.
Then let's see. I just want to double check this one last time. Because I think, okay, yeah. Heather Dubrow is next, which I have to double check because I always think this is totally wrong because it's, again, they count her and Terry. So if you look up Terry Dubrow, they also say like he and his wife are like worth $40 million.
Yeah.
So I think that this is probably not true, but so the Dubrows are number 3 here.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say all these figures are probably false.
Yes, I'm sure. Then we're going to have Andy at $50 million. And we're going to round it out with LVP at $75 million.
All their money from restaurants?
Well, it's all the times the kitchen is burned down, don't you know? Allegedly.
Oh, right.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I have no comments on
wait,
the
I need
the
you to
fires in the
redo
kitchen.
this. So Luann, Jill, Heather,
Andy,
and
Lisa.
Lisa. Okay.
So I think, Max, that was 3 for you.
Yeah.
And how many was that for you, Jessica?
If you do indeed accept the fact that I put Andy under Heather Dubrow and Lisa, then I have 4.
Andy was second wealthiest in this one.
Right. So Luann, Jill. Oh, sorry, on my list. If you accept that I did Luann, Jill, then Andy, then Heather, and then Lisa above that.
So that should be 3 because you inversed.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
3.
Because at first I had Lisa and Heather tied.
Yeah.
Whatever. I have 4.
No, that sounds like 3.
No, it sounds like 4. Okay, it'll be 3. Heather Dubrow is 3, right? Tell me who is. Read them numerically.
But you switched him.
I put Andy under Heather.
But Andy needs to be above
Heather. Oh my.
Yeah, this is
math. Me, no.
You had 4 before you switched him. Okay, and then Catherine?
I had 3.
Okay, so in
Guess who's third?
third place today, we have Jessica with 6.
Oh.
I don't know anything. Like, look. I know about being self-made. I don't know anything about some of this other stuff.
However, Jessica was tied for first in round 1 with Catherine, and in round 3, all 3 of you tied. So if we went by rounds,
Jessica won.
Jessica was doing really well.
Thanks for giving me that bone. Appreciate you.
Actually, if we went by rounds, I think Catherine is like sweeping every
Yeah,
time.
Well, I would hope
like,
so because she's the guest expert.
Yes. And with 7 points, we have Max in second place.
That's respectable.
And in first place, we have Catherine with 9 points.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
That was a fun game. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. And it's always fun to kind of internet dig on where they think these people's money is coming from.
There's no way that those numbers are right.
I don't think so.
I don't think they're reporting that.
Okay. So,
Allegedly.
Allegedly. All of this is alleged.
so Catherine,
Yeah.
you write about the self-made man, the American dream, rags to riches kinds of stories as they relate to Milton Hershey. Can you unpack some more of the history of how these ideas go together for the listeners and explain about maybe explain why these ideas are so resilient in U.S. history, how they're time specific, but also problematic?
Sure. So I think a lot of the rags to riches stories that come to mind when we hear the term are from and Jessica will be the expert on this, but from the Gilded Age and the early progressive era in America, we think about Carnegie and Rockefeller, and Milton Hershey falls in to those in with those people as well. And these ideas are really resilient in the American psyche because they're evidence that anyone can become exceedingly wealthy. The narratives of so-called self-made men privilege honesty and hard work. They discourage dependence. Literature for a long time has fetishized these stories, and since the advent of film and television, stories of the underdog are really popular. They celebrate success. And the notion of the American dream makes it clear that upward mobility is possible for everyone, regardless of what class they're born into, even though, as we know, even at any point in American history, this has never been true. But that idea still persists. The idea has roots also in frontier life in early America. We can see references to ideas surrounding social mobility, personal aspirations, in the writing of people like Alexis de Tocqueville in the 1830s, Frederick Jackson Turner later in the 19th century. And the idea of what the American dream is has changed significantly over time. For some people, it's meant the freedom to make individual choices. It's meant access to education, home ownership. The notion of the American dream is a little different than the other two, but they all fit together. And this notion of the American dream is problematic because it implies that hard work and good character ultimately lead to success, and that there are no systemic obstacles in this path. The notion of the self-made man reinforces the idea that individuals are singularly responsible for their success. And rags to riches stories reinforce the fact that the American dream is truly possible for anyone, because if it's possible for people who were born into poverty, then it must be possible for everyone. And it doesn't acknowledge that different classes of people throughout American history have had truly significant barriers to these possibilities. It's also problematic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to say,
no, you go ahead.
Could you tell us a little bit about how the American dream would also be different for people in the 1880s, 1890s than what it is like when you talk in your research about Hershey, Pennsylvania by the 1970s?
Well, I talk a little in my work. Well, not even a little. There's the early part. Like my work spans the entire 20th century history of. I debated a little in the early stages of the project where to start and end it, and at the end of the day, I ended up coming to looking at the first 100 years of the Hershey Company. So, in the early years of Hershey, the American dream means this sort of middle class life that Hershey really does provide for a lot of people who had been dairy farmers in that central Pennsylvania region, or they had been coal workers in other parts of Pennsylvania. And as the factory expands and the town needs more and more workers, it does draw from these areas, and it also draws migrants from Italy in particular to work in the stone quarry that's near the town, and they are essentially building the infrastructure of the town. And there's a lot of xenophobia in the early first 3 or 4 decades of Hershey's history, before these Italian migrants and children of migrants sort of become part of the fabric of Hershey. There's a lot of xenophobia. And so the American dream for these new migrants is very different from farmers in the region who are just coming to Hershey for a different life than what they have, but because it offers sort of more education, more opportunity for education for their children, a more stable living, whereas people coming from Italy are entering into a whole different life, and that is provided because of this industrialization that's happening in the area. Later on, it means very different things. As Hershey transforms throughout the 20th century, and it becomes less dependent on the Hershey chocolate factories for employment. There's a big medical center that opens up, and later Hershey becomes a bedroom community of Harrisburg. So then it represents more of like this sort of suburban America post-war ideal that then sort of embodies the American dream. It's home ownership. It's living in a sort of peaceful community outside the one you work in.
Great.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, excellent.
Excellent. So you know that there's this recurrent theme on Bravo where housewives want to be known as an entrepreneur, an owner of a product, rather than just a product spokesperson. So can you use, for example, Karen Huger's La Dame perfume? I almost said La Dame parfume. La Dame perfume drama as an example to talk to us about this phenomenon and what it means? And then follow up, why have some brands succeeded and others have not?
Sure. So the La Dame saga has been very interesting and very petty, which makes it great for television. Sometimes over the course of this, I've thought, okay, this is enough. We don't need to hear any more about La Dame. But the Giselle Bryant is so shady and so great. She always makes me laugh, and so then I'm like, okay, I do need to see where this La Dame thing is going. I credit Giselle almost entirely with that, with moving the storyline along. But there's a long history in the United States of celebrity spokespeople in advertising. It really takes off in the 1950s when American consumers are watching more TV in their homes, and in the ensuing decades, celebrity endorsements of products are more and more common. And this is especially true for beauty companies and perfumes. And we can think about like Elizabeth Taylor in the 90s. And since then, all these pop stars, Britney Spears, Jennifer Lopez, with signature fragrances for various companies. But for the ladies of Potomac, having a signature fragrance or being the face of a fragrance it's not enough. And they are very concerned with whether Karen owns this company, how much stake she has in the company, or is she just the face of the company, which is somehow debasing, regardless of how much money she may or may not be making from this perfume that may or may not exist. The anticipation of Karen's perfume becomes like a significant storyline for I think 2 seasons, which seems insane. But part of this is entangled in that whole mess of the women thinking that Karen's broke and she doesn't actually live in that big house. And ultimately, it goes back to this idea of being self-made. And if you're just the face of a product, you didn't make that. And it shows how important that really is, being self-made in the American imagination. Entrepreneurship is central to the rags to riches stories of famous American business people like Hershey, like Carnegie, in the modern era, like, I don't know, I can't even, the woman, I don't remember her name, but who founded Nasty Gal fashion. Like, it's just the entrepreneurship element is so important. And so Karen's ownership of the company is central to whether or not she can claim that title of being self-made, regardless of how much money she has. Is she self-made? Does she own this? Is so important. And in terms of why some brands succeed and others don't, that's a hard question. And I'm not like a branding or marketing expert, but in terms of Housewives brands, my take on it is that I think there's clearly some products that Housewives are backing or creating that are more useful than others, and that there's actually more of a market for. So something like Skinny Girl or Bedroom Candy seems to have its place and, be doing well. And people like Candy Burris and Bethenny Frankel just seem to have a little more business savvy than some of the other women. They probably surround themselves with smart people who are experts in what they're doing. They're not just trying to make it themselves. And they're really good at establishing personal brands and making viewers like relate to them, and that adding to the success of their product.
They certainly seem to have less insurance scams than LVP and Ken Todd, allegedly.
Hey man, that car hit their restaurant, not
the
the other way
restaurant did
around.
not hit the Ferrari.
Yeah.
No. They also, I think, some of the Housewives products seem to be just sort of simply like personal vanity projects. Like I would put like Sonia's toaster oven and She by Sheree in that category. And vanity projects are a lot of fun to watch, but they're not great brands or businesses.
Can I just say that my favorite vanity project, I think, has been Osa's Diamond Water.
Oh,
yes. I forgot about that.
Like, it's just so ridiculous. It's like, to me, it's so Bravo that like she wanted people to buy water with diamonds.
That is so LA too.
So LA. Yeah. I forgot about that. That's a good one.
I follow Osa on Instagram. So the caftans are still going. She's still doing ads for that. No one has seen or heard of the Diamond Water since we watched it on television. I mean, it just hasn't. Let me say this about products. Let me weigh in on consumerism. Whilst at BravoCon, I decided to buy a Cynthia Bailey purse. It was a crossbody bag. And I said, I'm not going to buy this. But the person who was selling it was just so delightful. I said, sure, why not? I deserve this. And I looked at it and said, I don't know. Is it cheap? I don't know. But I have taken it everywhere I've traveled in the last 2 months, and it still looks, and it's a white purse, and it still looks white and crisp and sharp.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it.
We should do a shout out to Cynthia Bailey.
Yes, shout out to Cynthia Bailey.
I love Cynthia Bailey.
I'll also say
she's my favorite housewife. I'm like, I love Cynthia Bailey.
I'll also say
she and Portia are good. I love both of them.
If any housewife wants to send us their product, I'm here for it. We will promote it.
We can advertise the
product.
I spent a good 3 hours one night trying to find a bottle of Ramona's Pinot Grigio. Could not find anywhere. Wasn't on eBay. Wasn't anywhere. What are some of your favorite things you've learned from your research that most people wouldn't know about the history of chocolate, Milton Hershey, or American consumer practices around chocolate?
One of the interesting aspects of Hershey's history that's probably lesser known is, even though once you hear about it, you're like, how is that not known? Is that Milton Hershey, during the First World War, established sugar plantations in Cuba, in like east of Havana, as a way of dealing with wartime
wish
shortages.
You could see Jessica and Max and I. Oh my god!
Oh my goodness!
Pause. Okay, we do know there's differing definitions of plantations, but I really did think, well, I guess you have the plantations in Hawaii too. So let me back up. But I had no idea that Hershey went to Cuba.
Yeah. Thousands of acres of sugarcane fields, 3 separate sugar mills. The company built a town with a fancy hotel that executives and tourists could stay in. They even had what's it called? The United Fruit Company's Great White Fleet, like that would visit, go through the Panama Canal, visit banana plantations and in like Costa Rica or places like that. They had a stop in Havana, and it featured like a shore trip to walk through the mill in Central Hershey, which is what they called the town. The company published promotional material that likened it to the Pennsylvania town, calling them sister cities. And they sourced sugar almost exclusively from Cuba, from their own properties until just after the Second World War, when Milton Hershey died. And the history of Hershey's role in this American imperial expansion is really fascinating. And I'm hoping to move the book in a more transnational direction, and if it ever happens, and take a more in-depth look at this period of Hershey's history. It's really fascinating.
So where did they go after the Cuban Revolution then?
Well, they didn't. They were out before the revolution, so they didn't have to. They sold all the assets to the Cuban American Sugar Company. I think that's what it was called. And so this is why I don't know if you all have heard of the Milton Hershey School. Some people have and some people haven't. But what happened was they bought the plantations and mills and all of that land in 1916. And Milton Hershey didn't want to. It was originally in the Hershey Estates holdings, which took care of all non-chocolate operations in town, so like garbage removal, snow removal, all that kind of stuff. And they put it in there, but then realized that if it was there, they would have to pay taxes on it. So then they moved all of that to which at the time was called the Hershey Industrial School, and it was a charity. So they could put that money in there, or put those assets in there. And when they sold the Cuban assets, that was that enriched the school beyond what, and it was already very rich. But so now the Milton Hershey School today serves I don't know if it's grade 1 through 12 or if it starts even earlier than that, but it's still a school that serves sort of low income students from mainly the mid-Atlantic area, but people from all over the country can apply. And now that school is actually their endowment is on par with schools like Columbia and Stanford, Penn.
Wow.
So it's crazy. And all that money came from the wealth that they had in Cuba.
Yikes.
Wow.
Did you have any other favorite tidbits about history of chocolate in the U.S., consumer practices, or Hershey? Because I don't know how many more of your whoa moments. I feel we're all in shock over here.
Let me also say this about our whoa moments. These are great, but I'm sure you've already gotten the advice of don't give it all away. Leave some for the book. Yeah, so leave some for the book.
Do you know? I'm really interested. I don't know if you know, how much chocolate do Americans eat?
Oh, a lot. I came across the number a while ago, but I can't remember it. But it's a lot. Yeah. I wish I could remember the figure, but yeah, it's a lot.
I would imagine it's a big number per capita per year. Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. This has been amazing. So it's time for Bravo News Update.
Yay.
Okay. So before I actually do the news,
before we actually get to the news, we have an answer. Americans consume 2.8 billion pounds of chocolate each year.
Whoa.
Or over 11 pounds per person.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Does that sound right to you?
Yes, that sounds, the 11 pounds per person. I remember that now that you say it. That's a lot.
Added to that, Americans eat an average of 22 pounds of candy each year, split almost equally between candy and chocolate.
Wow.
Oh, so then it's another 11 pounds of candy.
Just sugar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before you count your soda.
That's before you even get to cereal, too.
Yeah. Wow.
All right.
Okay. So since we just had a new season of Vanderpump Rules air, I figured that part of Bravo News today could be you, Catherine, weighing in as a Pump Rules fan on what you want to see in terms of predictions for the season, hopes. What are you thinking at the start of season 8?
I just hope it's a fun season. That's what I've always loved about Vanderpump Rules. The last season was maybe not as much fun, but it's always fun to watch. I always enjoy it. I'll probably watch the first episode of this season later tonight. But I'm curious to see how the new people fit in. I'm excited. There's been sort of mixed feelings about whether there should be new people or not, but I'm really excited about the new people. I'm hoping that that they'll fit in well with the show. I'm interested to see Lisa's role. Like now that she's not going to be on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills anymore, I'm curious to see if she'll take more of a role on Vanderpump Rules, or if her role will kind of be the same as it's been for a while. I guess it's Jackson and Brittany's wedding this season, so I don't know if I'm that interested in their wedding.
Jax is such an insufferable bridezilla.
Yeah, well,
without spoiling anything,
I don't.
Like he's awful.
Well, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
I just love the part in the preview where you see Brittany in like a fake wedding dress, like put her head down and cry on pizza boxes. That
to me says everything you need to know about VPR.
It's so Vanderpump Rules to me.
It's very Vanderpump Rules.
It wasn't enough that she put her head down on the table. It had to be on a pizza box.
So our first tidbit of Bravo news today actually comes as Vanderpump Rules adjacent. So do you guys remember who Breckin Meyer is?
Wasn't he in Road Trip?
He's in Road Trip. He was in Clueless. He was in Rat Race. Does this ring a bell? Breckin Meyer?
Who was he in Clueless?
He was Alicia Silverstone's like soon-to-be boyfriend.
Okay, got it.
Right, the skateboarder.
No.
Brittany Murphy's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know about it.
Yeah, and he was the guy in Road Trip trying to like prevent the tape from getting to the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right.
Breckin Meyer. So Breckin Meyer bought the house that was for sale next door to Tom and Ariana. They are now neighbors.
Okay.
Except he had to pay slightly more for his house. They paid $2 million and some change. He paid $2.2 million for the same exact house with the same exact floor plan and pool in the backyard.
Why did he have to pay more?
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's just, the way that the housing market moves around. So
there might have been capital improvements.
So he paid just slightly more for the same exact house. And as Stassi Schroeder points out, the Tom and Ariana's house, Jackson Brittany's house, and Katie and Schwartz's house all look exactly the same from the outside. You're really confused about which house you're pulling up to. So so that's the first bit.
And now Breckin Meyer's house is exactly the same.
I know. So, it remains to be seen if we'll get Breckin Meyer in the Vanderpump Rules universe.
That would be interesting.
Maybe he can do a movie with Randall and Lala.
I'm here for that.
The second piece of news. Apparently, there is big drama between Denise Richards and Brandi Glanville.
Yeah.
Because
I heard that
they've had a 6-month affair. Brandi was under the impression that Denise was in an open marriage. And so when it came up, it turned out that it's really unclear if Denise is in an open marriage or not. But Aaron had no idea any of this was happening. And so Denise did not go to the reunion for Beverly Hills.
Oh.
So there's that. It was not just like a one-time, it was like a 6-month relationship on the side.
I know.
You think he was like, you got to shut down Housewives? Like, you can't do that anymore?
Or do you think she's embarrassed and she didn't want the questions?
That's possible too.
I mean, she was married to Charlie Sheen.
So how worse could it be?
I feel like this is not something that's going to embarrass her. If she's embarrassed, it's because Aaron is probably really upset because he was unaware.
Or they're going to bring
her
Brandi
kids are old enough that they would read about it too, right?
She also seems to get some Hallmark contracts, and I don't know if Hallmark is okay.
Oh,
right, because Bravo is like not going to care about it, but her Hallmark holiday movies and seasonal work is probably going to care if she has tabloid news about her romance. They apparently started their relationship like right at the open of 2019. So like only like a couple months after her and Aaron married in the fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I have so many questions that go back so further back. Now looking at it, I mean, is Brandy fluid? Is that what she's saying? Let's look at her relationship with Ken and Lisa.
Well, Kelly Dodd got on Twitter and
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, I've spent the night with Brandy and she didn't come on to me. So
Kelly,
you know, so
I mean,
Kelly,
it's not
Kelly,
like
That
you
is a
can keep your
very
mouth
Kelly
shut.
Dodd thing.
you know, it was a very Kelly Dodd. Yeah. But yeah, so 6-month relationship. Apparently this aftermath drama is all on the new season of Beverly Hills.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yes.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
Brandy is going to get her full-time diamond back, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I hope. I like watching Brandy. She's fun to watch.
She's good TV. My
I
head
like-
just
Yeah.
hurt a little bit, but she's good TV.
I like watching
Yeah.
her annoy Kyle a lot. I like watching Kyle get annoyed and flabbergasted.
Kyle is funny
And-
when she's annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we leave Bravo News, because I feel like it's fair game, there seems to be a lot of debate online right now about what is going to happen to Dallas or what should be happening to Dallas. Some people online are talking about how Dallas won't be renewed at all. Others are saying that they can renew it with everybody but Brandy and Leanne. So any feelings?
I like Dallas. It's not my, like, if it went away, I probably wouldn't end up really missing it. But if it's there, I'm definitely going to watch it. I do like Stephanie Holman. I read things online this season that people didn't like Carrie Brittingham. They thought, but I liked her. I thought she seemed fun, and that if she had another season, that might be fun.
I kind of wonder how many people who are saying they don't like Carrie. There's also like a race issue or like maybe like a xenophobia going on behind their feelings about Carrie.
That's definitely possible. And I don't know. Leanne is always, I've never enjoyed Leanne. I don't find her fun. I don't find her interesting.
I agree.
You know,
I tried to
she
give her a
brings
shot last
drama,
year.
but yeah, she brings drama, but it's not the kind of drama that I really am here for. I would not miss Leanne at all.
So, every show, they're looking at me like I'm supposed to have an answer. Every Housewives franchise has its own distinct personality, as we've said before, and Andy has said. And maybe I just am not with the Dallas personality. Maybe I just can't. It just.
Oh, I am?
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that I just. I'm kind of like you, Catherine. If it's on, I'll watch it. If it doesn't come back. So let's see what they do. I think they have a great time slot. That's what I got for you.
Is there another city in the South that they could...
A Real Housewives of like Phoenix or Scottsdale would probably be really fascinating.
That would be good.
Oh, yeah.
And New
Yeah, that would be a
Orleans, but-
different vibe.
But
I feel like the New
Scottsdale would
Orleans
be-
now is like where they've done Southern Charm New Orleans, but
Oh,
I mean,
right.
I kind of miss Miami still.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like Miami. I mean, going back to this Arizona vibe, I feel like the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, shout out to my hometown, I feel like that's going to be the closest we get to Phoenix because I know the income bracket they're taking people from to do this show, right? Like everyone, they're supposed to have money, but some of these people have money.
Right.
So I think we're gonna get a similar kind of vibe. Like some people live in Park City, which is the tourist area.
Right.
They only really get together for social engagements, high-end social engagements. So I think without having Phoenix on the table, we're gonna get a lot of that kind of West rugged individualism in the West, since we've been talking about self-made people.
I would still love a Real Housewives of San Francisco or Seattle. Just get like,
that'd be
like
great.
really crunchy women yelling at each other, right?
Real Housewives
You
of
did not
Berkeley.
recycle that properly, right? Like but like, when Max and I lived in San Francisco for a long time, so both this like combination of like crunchiness, but like crunchy people who really care about their property value. It's fascinating. So
I would watch that.
yeah. So with that, Catherine, tell us what's next for you and what you want people to know about your upcoming work. How can they get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Well, it's a little uncertain for me right now. My dissertation defense was actually just formally scheduled today, so it's coming up at the end of February.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I'm on the job market right now, which has been,
Not for the
something.
weak of heart. Not for the weak of heart.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about how this project moves forward as a book, what kind of research I'll be taking on next. I'm really interested in the history of capitalism and food history, consumer culture. So it'll be something in that vein. And people can reach me at catherinekoonar.com.
Thank you.
I am on
so
Twitter,
much.
but I don't really tweet. I just lurk.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. This was wonderful. I had a great time. I think my co-host did too. I feel like I learned a lot today.
I'm irritated that I'm fasting from sugar though, because a Coke and a Hershey bar, like what else do you need in America?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is it.
Great.
I had a wonderful time. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As always, you can find us at historiansonhousewives.com, where you can propose your own episode topic, ask us questions, and send us feedback. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at HistoriansH. And don't forget that you can like and review the podcast on your podcast platform. Thank you, Catherine Koonar. This show was brought to you with the support by Barbara and Mark Spear, Saddleback Community College, Christina Hinkle, Christina Gamberpour, Jed Merlasky, Pete Murray, Yvonne Bellardes, Cody Baker, Molly Callahan, Dr. Joaquin Galarza, Courtney Crow, Laura Loper, Kim Bettendorf, and Luis Asio de Dios. And remember, scholars do bravo too.
And Jill.
Bobby Zarin is dead. So
Yeah, but Jill was the fifth one. 'Cause it
yeah.
wasn't-
Oh yeah. Jill's the last.
Thanks for pointing out that Bobby is dead. Jill, if you're listening out there, your husband's dead.
I probably could have said that more gently.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't worry, I'm going to cut that out.